kid. I'm not gonna hurt you.
The first rule. We must always give back to the forest which provides for us. So when you hunt or scavenge, do it for two. One for the forest and one for you.
Where are your parents, kid? Anyone else around here?
The second rule. When your will is almost gone and you feel like giving up, find comfort in singing our song.
If you want to go with me in the morning, I could get you somewhere safe. I just mean I noticed you were running low on canned food and I could...
No.
The third and final rule. Now this is the most important rule of all. You must never, ever let go of the rope.
Do you know what that was?
No.
Have you ever heard that before?
I don't think so.
Whatever is out there ain't gonna go away if you keep feeding it. We can set a trap for it. I mean, unless you just feel safe all alone out here.
Hello, friends, and welcome to the Cinemondo podcast with Kathy, Mark, Burk, and somebody else. Who is that?
I think we have a guest.
It's a guest.
Yes.
Somebody left the door unlocked.
He came in. He's squatting with us for a while. No, we're very happy to welcome into the Cinemondo studios Daniel Robinette, who is the director of the new film Tethered, starring Alexandra Paul, Kareem Ferguson, and Jared Lawfrey, that is currently playing in theaters and is playing locally here at the Glendale Lamellies and other theaters across the country. And we're here to talk about that movie and his filmmaking prowess and how he got started. Thanks, Dan, for coming on for a little bit.
Oh my gosh, thank you guys for having me. Thanks for using the word prowess to describe.
Expertise, genius.
All that stuff, yes. Well, we love indie filmmaking. We love indie horror. That's kind of a staple of the Cinemondo canon. Yeah. So when we got this screener, we really enjoyed the film. And so that's why I reached out and to see if you were interested in coming on and talking about how this film was made and everything about it. So here we are.
Here you are.
And we all of us work in the industry, so we know how hard it is to take an idea, to think of an idea and think, wow, I should make a movie. And then to go through this process. And at the end of that process, you have a finished film that's in theaters.
I never get tired of that story, how you do it.
That middle part is, I've been working in this industry for decades, multi decades, and I'm still completely mystified by how it ever happens.
Yeah.
When we were done with this, I was like, oh, it's done. We got it.
Are you sure?
Really done?
Did we miss anything?
Yeah.
So tell us how you got started.
How did you start this process?
Yeah. So back in 2015, we started 4 Leagues Media, which is our production company local in Greensboro, North Carolina. Before that, I was in advertising and marketing. Went to school for design. I grew up a huge film fan.
This sounds like my life, by the way.
I know it sounds like my
parents just gave me movies constantly. That's all I did.
Yeah, that's what we did. Literally, like if you could see the library my grandparents and my parents had of just 3 movies on one VHS tape, and then giving them to us and saying, "This is how you're going to spend your summer," and it was such an eclectic mix. People didn't really kind of curate stuff back then, so it was like Sophie's Choice, Jagged Edge, and Halloween, and I'm like,
nice.
Those are incredible films,
bro.
It's an education.
Yeah, exposed to every type of film. So there was a point when I was doing advertising and marketing for a while, and we were on a photo shoot for a client, and my friend Aaron was our photographer for the photo shoot. And at one point, I said, "Hey, why don't we just move from still photography into moving? Make this video and shoot a few short films and just see how it comes along because I really wanted. I just always thought I want to make a movie. Even
right.
today. And I didn't know a ton about short films at the time, to be honest. Like back in 2015 when we started, I knew there was that medium, but I hadn't seen a lot of them. And I said that's the smartest way for us to start is in the short film, kind of category, and we'll see what we can do. And our first short film, unfortunately, was just way too ambitious, and learned a lot about it. It was, I mean, it has a lot of good qualities to it, and it got accepted into one film festival. So like that was a big win, and we were like, oh my gosh,
That's awesome.
film festival.
But you probably learned a whole lot.
Oh yeah,
Sure, it's like a graduate
You have
school
to
of
just
filmmaking.
do it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. So we with each short film we got better, and I say that because not necessarily about the product, because when people watch your films, it really is so subjective. Whether or not you might have done something in the film that offended someone, or you shot something in a certain way that someone didn't like. It happened. So what I just wanted to make sure was with every short film we were getting better technically and execution wise, creatively, story wise. Are we learning? And we just got to a point where Tethered, the short film, was such a success that we decided let's start creating feature length screenplays from some of these short films, some of these ideas.
Oh yeah.
So we did that with Drawn to Fear. We did that with Tethered. We started to do it with a short film that we had put out called Psychopath that was picked up by, you can watch that on Alter.
Oh, love the title.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's a good words. And Tethered was the one that made sense for us to, so at one point we said, let's shoot a feature film. We're going to do it independently, because you're pitching all these studios these ideas like, hey, and we developed some really strong contacts. I mean, we had, I'm not going to name drop, but we had some strong contacts out there, people that were really interested in what we were doing short film.
Steven Spielberg. Just say it. All right, fine. I'll just say it.
So, but they were all very much like, we were saying, hey, give us give us the money to shoot a feature film. They're like, that's not really how it works.
Just give us the money.
We haven't, and it was constantly the response was like, have you guys done a feature yet? And it's like, well, no, because we don't have the money to do a feature. So Tethered came about because, and I said at one point, let's get the money, privately. Let's see if we can figure out how much we need to actually shoot this film as a feature length film. And then we went out just to people that we knew that had money, people that were, that were interested in what we were doing. And we cobbled together this huge team of investors, private investors. And then we shot Tethered.
Wow.
So
So
that's
a
the
lot of the
fascinating part.
filmmaking is just money, getting the money, getting it done.
Right.
It's
Mark knows this.
Well, I know it's the part I can't do.
Oh,
It's like I don't like selling myself or being a schmoozer. It's just never been me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's what you have to have, that, or a person on your team that knows how to do that as a good, as a natural talker and can really play it up and then get the funds. But you need the funds. So for instance, like, any feature, even one that's low budget, still costs a lot of money. Even if you're doing how long was the shoot for this?
We shot it in, I got to make sure that I get this right, because I always round up. I say like 2 weeks, and it was roughly 2 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's quick, cranking out a feature, 90-minute film in 14 days.
Too quick. We got, again, we knew we were making a jump from the short film into the feature, and it was, we talked about like, let's be cautious. We're gonna hit bumps in the road here when we're shooting this. We're gonna expect things to happen that we weren't expecting, but it was just so, again, very ambitious. To like looking back on it, we had so many shots to do in in a short amount of time every day. And, we all love it. Like our group was, we were all still there. We've known each other for so long. We're like family. So that was good going in, that we all knew each other so well, but we started grading on each other. And, there was, we do that on the short films. And I was like, it was going to get bad. And
Yeah.
we're going to do it a week.
That's funny.
But 2 weeks, that's I've been on shoots that lasted for way long, and you know, it's not just grating, it's way worse. It's a murderous rage that you start feeling towards these. But yeah, I mean, did you get in those 2 weeks, did you get everything you wanted, or do you feel like you were able to grab all the shots you needed?
You know, day one, we were behind the 8 ball.
Right. Well, yeah.
Day one.
That always happens. Yeah.
I mean, we're gonna, so at one point, I think day 2, we picked up what we needed to from day 1. Then we were rearranging some of the schedule. And so we started, like, I think we evened out at a certain point around day 3 or day 4, but we were still behind one scene. So, you know, at the end, I'd say we definitely could have used like another week. It wasn't in the money. It just didn't have the money to do it. And, you know, I'm going to bring this up real quick because our group has constantly talked about this since we finished Tethered and went through distribution. And, but, you know, we said when people see this out there, when critics see the movie, even when audiences see the movie, there's kind of a large group out there that just don't address the independent film, the budget, the time constraints, everything that we were kind of up against. And I kept telling everyone, well, it doesn't matter. You know, the critics don't care about that. The audience usually doesn't care about that because they're paying the same ticket price that they would for a big studio film. So they get to say, you know, the shots look like shit, or, you know, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
It's okay. We're a podcast. You can say any profanity you'd like.
So the acting, you know, was a little, and it's like, well, yeah, we have a ton of excuses to give you because of the time constraints and the budget, but, you know, we hope that there are people like you guys that understand independent filmmaking, and there's a huge audience out there that understands it as well.
Oh,
so
yeah.
A little more forgiving.
Yes.
But, you know, you just we can't go out there saying, hey guys, remember, this is, you know, we shot this like very little money and very little time.
Exactly.
If I'm out there and I'm the asshole, I would say, well, why'd you shoot it in the first place then?
Yeah.
Well, it still should be good.
Yeah, it should be good.
It should still have 3 Spider-Mans in it.
Yeah.
But
see, I think that's what I love about indie films in general. I like seeing the constraint. I like seeing like your very small cast, you're on location. Like, to me, I think it's even more innovative to see what someone can do with no money. And sometimes you'll see a great indie film, and then the next person's film with more money isn't as good because they didn't have that intensity of planning every shot and keeping it really tight. There's some sort of passion inside that I think sometimes misses when you don't have that. Even though I'm sure you would be able to make things right.
And even when filmmakers do have the budget or have more of a budget, they choose to sort of restrain their locations, and we call it isolation horror. I guess everybody calls it that. But it's like the idea that you're trapped somehow in one location. That's a genre that we love, but it's also a genre that makes a film a little bit easier to make.
Yeah.
Like if you have a film that takes place in one room with 2 actors, you know, that can really amp up your drama, and it can challenge you in ways to make this film without having to resort to a car chase or a helicopter blowing up against the side of a building. But you get that added drama in there, but you also get a break in your budget, you know?
Yeah. To your point, like, you're absolutely right. It becomes very intimate, which is one thing. If you look at like any of our past short films, everything is kind of isolated. And we're, even with the next feature film that we're probably going to work on, it's again going to be minimal cast, minimal location. And I love that. Because just for me personally, when I'm watching films like that, I feel like I become more kind of connected to what's happening. I can kind of fall into the story a little bit more. But to your point, you have to be a lot more creative with some of the shots that you're getting and how you're doing things. So it's a two-way street, but I love those types of films.
Yeah, you get a feel for the location, you get a feel for the geometry of your set, and your blocking becomes, you know, okay, we're in this room, we're in that room. When you're in this room, you have one sort of way to show that room, and then you have another way to show this other room. And it sort of defines the space. And I think a lot of films sort of forget that how it makes you feel. It's not so much a disorienting, but it's the opposite of disorienting. It's orienting, where you know where you are in the house. You know exactly where you are now. So when you have a threat that comes into the story, or a the other element, that the outside element that comes in to shake things up, you feel the fear of the person because you know where they are in the house, you know where that sound came from, you're familiar in that space. So that's we talk a lot about John Carpenter and the movie The Thing, which is a great that's just a classic example right there. But in Tethered, it was similar because you have somebody who is isolated, but the interesting thing is you kind of don't know why really, and there's a mystery to it. And it's one of those things that as you watch it reveals why. Did you? Yeah. Where did the story come from?
So when our group sits around, we brainstorm. So this has to go back to 2016 when we were in pre-production on the short film for Tethered. We brainstorm like next ideas, and we start throwing out, hey, this is what I thought of. This is what I thought of. And there was an evening when I brought, I was kind of just reading about mythology and the sirens, and I said, it kind of would be interesting is if there was this kid walking on a railroad track, and on the other side of the railroad track is like this forest, and he hears something, like a singing, some sort of like melodic tune that's calling to him. I was just modernizing, what was that? And so what if we just started off on something like that? And then the next thing we hear, like we were talking about it, and I think Jeff was like, what if he had, he was the kid didn't have one of his senses, like what if he was deaf or blind or something? And we started rolling with that, and could the story be stronger? And then I forget who it was that brought in him having to have a rope. And
I want to know about who thought of that.
Yeah.
strange little addition that totally like intrigues and makes for the great hook. Like, you're like, what the hell's the rope?
I can't remember who specifically brought the rope up, because everybody kind of runs with the idea, and we start saying, oh yeah, you can do this, and you can do this.
That's really funny.
Down on the whiteboard, and then I think there was a point where we even stopped and we were like, it's not gonna work.
This rope.
Start over.
Go back to the cannibals we were talking about earlier.
But then you keep going back to it, and then you're like, well, maybe this is a good idea.
We got something there. Like,
keep thinking about it.
So that's how it started. That's how Tethered, the story started.
Well, we don't want to do spoiler. First of all, we don't want to do spoilers because it's a new film. We want people to see it.
You could do a little light spoily.
You can give us a little plot synopsis, so we can talk. So if you do that, that'd be great.
But we want to make sure people watch this and that they don't, that they feel like there is a mystery to this film that's answered, and you get to go through the process with the characters. It does, you don't know what's going on exactly.
Yeah. It's it's hard for me to talk. Yeah, I want to talk about spoilers, but no, we don't want to give spoilers away. First of all, I'd say like this film, one of the things that I struggled with was because if you look back at our past short films and the kind of stories we do, they fall into the horror genre. We haven't ever really done a lot of gore, blood, guts. That's just not those aren't the stories that we've created. They're very much more suspense, thriller, kind of draw them out, and then you have a little bit of horror elements kind of thrown into it, mixed in. And that's definitely Tethered. I mean, it's when we were acquired by Gravitas for the North American release, we had some conversations about how it's going to be marketed, and you fall into kind of some traps on how you're marketing this thing that I may disagree with on how we're putting this out there. But you trust that this is being done the right way.
Right.
Yeah, you being in a marketing background.
Yeah.
What would you have said about their marketing versus what your idea for the marketing would have been?
All right. So for me, and I think you'll understand this too, it's I'm not necessarily looking at sales. Which I think that they are probably looking at sales, which
always, yes.
Totally get it. I absolutely understand. Yeah. I'm looking at, hey, well, let's just make sure that when we get viewers, after they see some promos and stuff, when we get viewers in that audience, that they're not going in with a different set of expectations than what they get. And we all thought of a film. Oh my gosh, I don't know when it came out. It Comes at Night. You guys all see that?
Yes.
You guys remember the trailer that came out for that?
I do. Yes, it was not the movie.
Intense, right? And then we go see the movie, and you're like, I walked away. I still love the movie, and our whole film group went to see it together, and there was just a lot of discussion afterwards, and a lot of expectations on what it was going to be versus what it was.
Yeah.
Right.
And it was funny because our group talked about that, and then we talked. Now we're with Tethered and everything, and I was like, I'm not saying that what they've done is wrong. I'm just saying, maybe if I was in charge, I might have marketed it a little bit of a different way.
Would you have marketed it because I feel like the marketing from the poster, because I do movie posters too, movie posters and TV. I thought the poster was very true to what the film felt like, very gritty and very, in the moment. It felt very indie. It wasn't like this big polished thing. It had this kind of like intriguing rope around this kid. Like, what is it? Is he being, what's happening here?
Right.
And I thought the trailer was pretty much on the same path. I think it amped it up a little bit more supernatural than it ultimately felt.
Yeah.
But, it is a very grounded little film. Like you said, just some overtones. So what did you think they missed? Like, do you think?
I think that we had cut a trailer early on that we presented to them that was a whole lot more, I feel like, parallel with the film, which was it didn't give a lot away at all. Set the tone for the kind of the shots, the atmosphere shots, set the stage for a couple of characters. You're not sure what's happening. You're not giving anything away.
Yeah.
Because, that's the bulk of the film is, you're trying to figure out
what's happening.
What the hell is going on here? Like, but there's something
Right.
on here. So we wanted it a lot more like without questions answered. Even if you look at the log line, I don't know if there might be some specific words that I don't know if I would be using to describe it, but again, I don't know. Who the hell am I to be talking about it? This is
well, you make a movie.
You're in marketing.
Yes.
You have a say.
But as soon as Gravitas gets involved, they they have to stick their their 2 cents in. They're distributing it, so it's just you have to sort of bend a little bit. But that's tough, especially when you want it to do it a certain way. It's classic filmmaking.
It's internal too, because we, when I get an assignment to work on a movie or a TV show, I have my ideas about it, and we'll send it back to them, and they'll be like, no, and I'm like, wait, what? And so you're still going back and forth, and then the filmmakers have to look at it, and they don't like it, or they do like it. So there are a lot of layers in trying to satisfy everyone.
Yeah, and they have been phenomenal. They really have through the entire process. They've been great, fantastic with getting it out there, putting the word out. Really great. It was just, again, subjective opinion on how we should maybe approach some things. But I really just kind of took a back seat and said, these guys know better than me. This is my first, feature film. Who are we to say?
You're like the dream client.
Well, they're also
like no one ever says that, by the way.
Yeah.
They're a cool distribution company too.
Yeah.
I mean, when I see Gravitas Ventures come up, I know it's going to be of a certain quality. It's like okay, it's going to be a good independent film. So I thought that's a good catch.
We're very excited. We were very excited when we heard that they were interested. And when we closed that deal with them, it was amazing. It especially amazing that they were willing to release it in theaters. That was a big deal for us. In the independent feature film market. Yeah, we had a lot of friends and knew a lot of people that were getting deals done, but it was going straight to VOD or minimal PR. And even on the financial side, not a whole lot up front. And so the deal we got was really good. So it makes you think like, oh, I think that maybe, we believed in our film. Maybe we really have something here because they're treating us like more special than some of these other people.
You do have something.
I was just going to say, I mean, you do have something special, and that's, why I want to promote it. But going back to the filmmaking, did you shoot it in North Carolina?
We did, all in the same location. Same location we shot the short film, privately owned land, over 400 acres of land out there. Just
wow.
Nice.
Undeveloped.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Well, it definitely comes through in the movie. It feels like you're really out in the wilds. Like, did you guys, you didn't obviously camp out. You probably went to a hotel or something and did that kind of a thing, or
with the exception of Kareem and Alexandra, who had to fly out from LA, everyone else was local in North Carolina. That's another thing that I would try to do with our films is we're always trying to keep everything local here in North Carolina. And not to say that we wouldn't cast and bring people from other places. places, but shooting in North Carolina is kind of a priority for me. I feel like there's so much in this state that can be used as a backdrop or as a setting for films.
Yeah. I love that.
And, you know, I got nothing against California. This is where I am, and I feel like I need to do here.
Well, and it felt unique. Like, you know, when you see locations like that, you're so used to seeing California in so many, you know, and New York, and you know, you don't even realize how you're used to seeing these environments till you see a movie like, you know, Tethered, where you're like, well, this is an interesting new environment. I haven't seen film that often, and I think a lot of the like, because your film was kind of, you know, a smaller indie film, you did some great casting, and like those actors just killing it. And that I think is what really helps, because it doesn't even matter about budget if you have the actors that really bring it home. Like, where did you find these actors? Because they were fantastic.
So Jared Lawfree, who plays you know, grown up Solomon, he was in the short film when we did it back in 2017. And you know, I've worked, all the people we've worked with in the short films that we've done, I've loved them all. Jared, I especially loved he brought it to the short film. He was amazing in it, and I was like, if we ever do Tethered as a feature, we've got to bring him back and play Solomon. So when he found out we were doing it, he was so excited. He's been, you know, he's going that route of I think he's doing a little bit of acting, but he's going to do some writing. He wants to do some producing. So he's just, you know, not gone fully committed to it. So he was really excited, had the time to commit to us. Brody Bett, who played Little Solomon, was great. He's super talented. He already has like a background of things that he's doing. And I think that we met him. I think we did a local post, because at one point we said we're casting, you know, for this. And his mother reached out representing him, and it just worked out. Alexandra, who, oh my God, she was, you know, so you work all that you were working on short films and stuff. We worked with kind of actors that, you know, don't have a ton of film experience. So she was our first real, like, veteran.
Christine, you know, like, you know, of course, Baywatch. I mean, she's been in tons of.
Well, and John Carpenter's one of my favorite all time. You know,
of course,
ours too. Yeah.
So
how
good.
could he not be?
So I felt like that, just that 1 degree of separation now that Alexandra's been in.
Yeah,
she was amazing. Like, you know, she nailed every time we did a take. She never messed up. Like, just nailed it every time. It was like work for her. So she was amazing to work with. Kareem was incredible. We met him through Alexandra to cast Hank, and that was amazing. That was amazing. We were just so impressed with him, and he was so much fun to have on set. He and Jared were the ones on set the longest, obviously. The film, so they had the most parts and most dialogue. But they were on set the longest with us. We had like an R&D for the actors, like, you know, it's, that they could spend time in on set, because we shot this in January of 2021, so it's freezing.
Yeah.
Right.
And we're all bundled up constantly out there, except for the actors.
Poor actors.
Jared was the worst. Like, he'd be sitting there just like shivering, you know, between takes and everything. Someone would give him a blanket. But so everybody did have to, Mark, to your point, everybody did have to drive away from the set, like, for that night. And then, you know, we're all back there the next morning early to start the next day. But I don't think anybody was further than maybe, I think I drove the furthest. I had to drive close to an hour to and from the location every day. But everything else was maybe about 30 minutes, 20 or 30 minutes away.
Wow, that's great.
Sounds like LA.
Yeah. Anytime you anywhere, it's 45 minutes. This is how it works.
Is it 45 minutes everywhere?
Every time.
So you shot it in January 2021, obviously in the middle of the pandemic, so you had to deal with all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And then post took, I guess, you know, most of 2021, or when did you get it to, you know, the distribution deal? How long did that take, you know, after you shot it?
Post took longer than we anticipated, editing wise. You know, here's the reality is that we all have day jobs, you know, so this is something that we do in the evenings, on the weekends. We took, like, all of us took vacation days to shoot the film. And so, you know, once everything was done and it went to Jeremy to start editing, it was just, you know, life. life throwing curveballs saying like, well, you can't work on it this weekend, and we couldn't get sound files to him this weekend. So that took longer than we anticipated. We really thought that we were going to kind of turn around the film and post like 3 to 4 months and be done, and have it shot like June. Yeah.
Yes, we got it done. Just edit it together.
Yeah, post production is always really quick and easy, right?
So, and it's always a question of money too. It's like you feel like, there's this extra stuff, like, we need a little extra money for this, or
that was definitely color grading, special effects. We needed extra, like we had some budget left that we had set aside for color grading, special effects. We'd already had our sound designer, part of the project. Everybody else, our editors, producers, myself, costume designer, our PAs, we were doing this, just nobody was getting paid. We're just out there, just wanting
love.
Just for the love of it.
Yeah, just for the love of it. So,
and it still costs money, even though no one's being paid. What is
right? How's that happen? So it's like,
yeah.
Where did it all go?
This money, where did that money go?
Yeah.
We didn't get any of it.
Color grading, very expensive.
Biggest mystery in the entertainment industry.
But making a movie and then like getting it done and then getting the distribution, that is so rare for so many smaller films. They make a movie, it just sort of goes away in a file and it's never really seen by a lot of people.
Yeah.
So getting it distributed and getting it shown at theaters, that's like a home run. For you as far as the back end of it, which is great.
Hey.
One of our, thank you. One of our investors who came aboard, I didn't know him. It was a friend of mine, well, actually a coworker of mine who said, "Hey, you should talk to this friend of mine. I've known him since high school. We went to high school together, and he's out in LA. He's done a film before." And so I called him up when we were in pre-production on Tethered. And I told him, this is what we're doing. We're trying to find investors. And I started this conversation with him. And he was actually the one that knew Alexandra, that got us in touch with her. But he's been kind of our mentor through this process. And he kept encouraging us. He's been so great and positive. And one of the things he mentioned was, you have these hurdles. He was like, the first, you're getting past all these people that, said, I want to do a movie. So I got to write a screenplay. And he was like, all right, so you finish the screenplay. That's hurdle one. It was like, now you got to find a cast and get someone with just a name in it. And there's hurdle two. Now go shoot it or, get the money for it. There's hurdle three. It's like, I'll go shoot it. There's hurdle four. And then it gets into those parts that you were bringing up, Mark, which was, can you actually sell this thing now? Will it be picked up by a distributor? And will it actually play anywhere? Will people be interested in it? And we just kind of kept going and checking all these boxes. And so in the end, he was so happy and thrilled that, that we were able to do this. And he keeps calling it the less than 1%. He was like, it's got to be less than 1% out there that start this endeavor, that get it.
Absolutely.
Have gotten it. So I'm super proud of that, in and of itself, for everybody that was involved, for our group. And, it's amazing. It really is thrilling.
Yeah, and also it gets you, once you get that over that last hurdle and the movie's out there. It's like, now it opens up more doors for possibly making another feature, and maybe it's a little bit bigger. But so that's what you're doing. So, do you want to talk a little bit about your next project, or do you want to? Is that under wraps?
Sure. No. It's. I'll give you. I'll talk about so during the process of selling the Tethered, we met a few different people, and we had a producer that was really interested in the film and the style. She commented on the vision and said, that she had seen a lot of different films, and that vision is kind of what they look for as far as, can she pull together investors or a studio to get behind something, and really liked what she saw in Tethered. So there's that relationship. There's the pre-existing relationship that we had with the name I'm not going to bring up. But the feature film, the feature film helped. So we know that when we're done with this next project, getting financing, I think, is going to be a lot easier this time. And this next project, again, you guys can expect kind of isolation horror. This time, I think that with this, the way we're playing this story out, you can bill it straight up as a horror. There's going to be there's going to be
my favorite.
There will be gore.
There will be gore.
There will be deaths. There will be the way it's shaping up now. I mean, I'm super excited to move on to this, and I've already been talking to Cooper, who he's writing it right now. He's part of our group, and we're almost there at the end of it, and it's just I'm so excited about it. I think it's gonna do well. But we lots of scares, lots just more horror involved, but it still is not straying away from kind of what we have done in the past.
Right.
Kind of character based.
Well,
right.
We look forward to that when
You'll come back on the podcast and talk about it.
Absolutely.
And by then you can mention this mysterious person.
Yes. Hopefully so. I have met some people. I totally wish I could name drop some of these people, but like there are some people that they're pretty big, in the horror genre, director wise, and I've been ghosted by them too. Like great.
Oh yeah.
30, 45-minute one-on-one conversation.
Oh yeah.
Text me, email me your stuff, and then there's this correspondence, and all of a sudden, no.
Oh God! Just
Welcome
me
to
too.
Hollywood.
Yeah, me too.
Hello.
Yeah,
what's so weird
that
about
is
That's
that's
an LA
yeah.
industry thing.
I don't like
it's
it.
like you get
I'll tell you
it's
right now.
awful.
I'm never
It sucks.
treating anyone that way.
It's terrible.
Dan, stick with your group. You've got a solid group.
Leave
you made a
Hollywood out of
movie. Keep it small. Keep it intimate. I mean, seriously.
So
if
is
you bring one
horror your
person in-
genre? Is that going to be your genre?
It is. I mean, I've grown up a horror fan. Like that's
I love that.
that. I also love science fiction. And so if you combine horror with science fiction, like movies like Sunshine,
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. Oh my
That's
gosh.
my thing. I'm the sci-fi guy. Kathy and Mark, I think, are the horror.
I will watch anything horror, anything. I don't care. So when I see a movie like Tethered, like I'll watch so much garbage, and then Tethered, I'm like, where did this come from? Like this is a what? And so you see like the little gems, and that's why I love it so much because there's
I'm
a
the
lot
sport-
of
I'm
bad
the
horror,
sports
but I'll
musical
still
guy.
watch it.
Yeah.
Musical.
Sports movies. Mark really likes.
Sports.
No, I'm kidding.
Rudy.
But
Yeah.
well, here's a question I always like to ask. What are the films that inspired you? What are your I hate to say what are your favorite movies, but what are the movies that when you were younger watching movies that you maybe watched them over and over, and that's what you were, maybe that thing clicked in your head. It's like I want to do that.
Halloween for sure. For
Yeah.
sure, Halloween. And actually, I'm going to be one of those rare people. You guys, if you guys are all Carpenter fans, you're going to be. I prefer Halloween 2. Halloween 2 is my favorite Halloween.
Oh.
Interesting.
I personally liked when they introduced the fact that Laurie was his sister. I liked knowing the motivation behind Michael Myers.
Right.
I know that Carpenter says like he was like, it was shit when we were just throwing it together for the studio and like really just needed to get something together. I was like, well, I think you guys stumbled on something good. And isolation, you're putting her in that hospital. Like I thought there were some of the coolest shots in that film.
Yeah.
The tension that was built in that.
That's funny.
So Halloween 2, I've watched over and over and over, and I still try to like get my group like every year around October. I send them a specific scene, and I'm like, this is why Halloween 2 is so great.
I love that.
Well, that movie has grown with a lot of respect. I mean, when it first
Yeah.
came out, I remember seeing it in a theater, and it was, we walked out, whatever. It was not what we expected. It was sort of like another slasher movie.
Right.
I didn't like it at all, but now I watched it a few years ago. I thought this is a lot better.
New
than I thought. So I
appreciation.
think
Yeah.
it grew.
Sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
And you realize how hard it is when you see other people trying to make Halloween, like the latest Halloween movies. And I'm not a fan of those because I feel like they totally missed the point. I feel like, of what Carpenter was doing.
Yes.
So it's
Right.
not an easy feat. Everybody goes, "Oh, I could make that," and then you go, "No, you really can't."
No, you can't.
When I think was it Halloween Kill? No, Halloween Kills is the one that just came out, or those?
Yeah.
Okay, so the one before that came out in 2018.
Yeah, just Halloween, right?
Yeah, Halloween, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So and they were ignoring part 2.
Yeah.
They're just
Yeah.
picking up from the first one.
Mhm.
And the first issue I had was when you could see more of, and I get that you could see more of Michael Myers' his face.
Right.
He was in, and I'm like, why are you you can't do that?
Yeah.
Nobody wants to see that.
No, you just
Nobody-
yeah. mysticism away. What are you doing?
And then
And
in the second one, they show he's just an old dude, like an old man. I'm like, I did not want to see that. I don't want to see Michael Myers as some aging geriatric killer.
It was the body count checklist. This is like how many people. Just
It was too much. It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
It was just stupid.
Anyway.
It was like a Friday the 13th version of Halloween. It
Yeah.
was
So
just
all that. So yeah, I mean, Burke, to your point, like any of those like classic '80s horror films,
Yes.
Friday the 13th,
The best.
Halloween, Sleepaway Camp. So there's some,
Sleepaway
there's
Camp.
some really bad stuff, right? But like campy kind of corny things, and but you can find some good stuff from those films, and I watched them so many times. And if you guys ever, I'll send you Drawn to Fear, which was our short film. I think it was the second short film we did.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Get that 80s kind of vibe from it.
Cool.
That one. And so 80s horror inspired me. I mean, if you name it, I've probably seen it, and I've probably watched it way too many times.
We all love the 80s horror. It's so
You
good.
can never watch it enough of it.
I think you're in the right room. We're
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, 80s
We
horror.
met-
Give it to me.
Kathy, Burke, and I.
Outside of horror, I was talking to my friend Cooper. Cooper and I are like kind of the film trivia aficionados in our group, and I said, if you look at some of the films that were shot in the 80s, like there's just something about the acting and the stories that were just better at times than the majority of than the whole of what's being put out today. Like enough with the reboots, enough with the
right.
Yeah.
big studio production stuff. Like we're missing something that used to exist then.
It's supposed to be small.
Yeah.
When they try to make it big, it just becomes Halloween Kills and it's just garbage.
And we like to kind of explore what is that element, you know. It's like I'm a big fan of 70s films. I love the 70s crime dramas, and I try to it's so often I watch these films for the millionth time, and I'm like, what the hell is it about? What is the ingredient in this thing? You know, what is it? And with the 80s horror films, it's like it's not a simple thing like some people will say, oh well, it's because of this, you know. It's a whole
Weird mix.
Yeah.
It's a mixture of the times, the just what's coming through the actors because they were living in those times. You know, there's so many elements. That's why it's so hard to, when people say, oh, let's make a movie that's like an homage to the 80s or the 70s or whatever, and then they put all the tropes in there, they put the costumes in there, they have the music, they have the right sunglasses, they have the period details, but it doesn't get it somehow.
Fake 80s.
Fake 80s. Exactly.
But
you can tell.
I just like that, you know, like I'll still watch any of those kind of the
Oh, totally.
the
Couldn't keep me away.
Yeah.
I'll still watch it and go,
Well-
well, that wasn't as good as it could have been, but I don't care. I'll watch it.
Yeah.
There are
Fine.
some,
Well, we could.
I was going to say there are some recent, you know, it's modern films that kind of have that flavor. I think modern horror stuff, and I remember when I saw It Follows, that stood out to me.
Loved it.
Like I was like, this is unique, this is visionary, this is different, and this has got something that we were just talking about. Like it has that something special that you can't really describe what it is. It's just
what is it?
Well, we have a few films that we go on and on about. Like I always bring up Hereditary. I think that, you know, that movie got so much hype. I didn't want to see it. I was like, no, it's not the new. It's not the new Exorcist.
What is that?
No, it's not. It's not the new Rosemary's Baby. Sorry, but then I watched it and I was like, this is the new Exorcist. This is a really deep,
Powerful
rich film full of so much stuff. I had to watch it like 5 times.
Yeah.
And you know, there's other smaller films. You know, we talk about Mike Flanagan and things like, you know, Absentia and a few other films that are, you know, on a smaller scale, like street level horror, I guess.
Very character driven.
Yeah.
Small, very limited location. Kind of like what
When
you were
you
talking
discover those, that's like the essence of it. You discover that. We met years ago because we all watched and just happened to talk about over lunch at work Evil Dead 2. You know, it was like,
And when you meet other horror fans, it's like, what people? And you just instantly latch on. You know?
All right.
so.
Mark and I were in Army of Darkness. We were actually angry peasants in Army of Darkness. So
You weren't. Are you kidding? Are you?
Sam Raimi yelled at Burke.
well, yeah, that's one of my favorite Hollywood stories. It kind of sums up my whole career and my whole life. Actually, I was right. He put me in the front because we were friends, and you know, friends of friends, and all that. He put me right in the front, and so I'm up there going, Ash, you know, throwing fake potatoes at Bruce Campbell and all, and and they stopped. And as a director, I have so much respect for Sam Raimi because he actually took the time to come over and say very politely, you know, what if we move you to the back? Like, just move you to the back a little. And it was very delicately done. And and it took me a little while, and I'm like, whoa, I just got put in the back
In your way.
because I wasn't really selling the rage, you know, the peasant rage. You know, I was
So
probably
sad.
just like,
Yeah. That is
You
bad.
felt
That is bad.
so. It was a
wait.
heartbreaking story, actually.
it's heartbreaking.
That's awesome for me. I mean, Army of Darkness is one of my favorite films. It is. It just because we were already the group that I grew up with. We were already horror fans. We were being Dungeons and Dragons guys. We played
Cool.
all the time.
It's still around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Combination with Army of Darkness, where it was like, oh my god, did you guys see this? Did you guys
It's a
see what's
perfect film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was insane. So I was going to bring up Evil Dead 2. I remember this. I was talking to Cooper about this too recently, where I remember seeing Evil Dead, and then when Evil Dead 2 came out, I saw that, loved that. I love both of them.
Yeah.
As a kid, or however old I was when I was watching it, I remember thinking, this is what happened in Evil Dead. Like what they're showing.
Yeah.
It was very weird.
Right? Okay. So it wasn't just me. I thought it was
Nah.
It's not really.
It was the
sequel, it's
first
kind of a
reboot.
remake with
Yeah.
a little sequel added on at the end.
right. Okay.
So that's we were just talking about that. The movies that are called whatever 2, but they're actually just a remake of the first one because now the director
money.
has a little bit more money and are like, let's really make it now. Let's
And I
really
thought it
make
really
them.
was an improvement. I thought
Yeah.
they really nailed I love the first one too, but the
Yeah.
second one, you're like, this is what the movie they wanted to make. Like
This
you
is
could
what
just
they wanted
tell.
to make. Yeah.
And
This
that
is what-
comedy element inside of the horror was just so great.
yeah.
And just the over the top. That was one of the first things. There was sort of a little cross pollination with some of the Coen brothers vibe in there too. So you have all that those speeding cameras speeding through and people going you know, and just that
nuts.
relentless nutty over the topness of it, which you know the what we call the joy of filmmaking. You know.
Yeah.
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 Well, Dan, we could talk for hours
I know.
about.
We'll just
80s
keep
horror
talking about
forever.
movies. It's
Yeah.
I want to hang out with you guys some more.
I know it's so fun.
Yeah, no, well, we'd love to have you on again. You can just come on and we can just talk about our favorite films or whatever. Just have a
We haven't even scratched the surface.
Oh my god.
yes.
And we're really excited for Tethered. I'm so glad it's doing
Yes.
well and it's out there in the world and you got it done and it's very exciting. Can't wait to see what you guys do next.
And it's a cool
Yes.
movie. It's a movie that our viewers I think will really
Yeah.
like. And you know, if you're watching, you need to see it. It's a
Yeah,
good one.
check it out. Yeah,
And it's not
is
too
it stre-
gory,
is it
so if you're
streaming yet?
afraid of that, it's not bad.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Like that's what I would say to people is, hey, don't
Don't worry.
psychological drama, suspense, horror. There's some, horror elements in it, but yeah, it's a thinker, and we intended it for it to be a thinker. And I think, the mystery there is there. There's little hints throughout to kind of help along the way.
Yeah.
but, it's there.
Contact movie.
You do
Check
want to
it out.
talk about it afterwards with
Yeah.
people. That's a movie.
In fact,
that's
after this, we want to talk about it for a second.
Yeah, so don't
Well,
don't
leave.
don't go
anywhere.
away. We're gonna do the outro and end the podcast, and then you hang out and we'll talk. And we'll dish all the scandal stuff at that point.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
All right.
So that was Dan Robinette. Thanks very much.
Thank
And
you so
don't
much.
forget to, like, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out all our videos. So Dan, hang
Yeah.
with us and see you guys later.
Thanks so much for joining us. This is the Cinemondo podcast signing off.